104.5 The Team, your home for New York Jets football. Tonight, the Jets are going to be over on our sister station, Q103, as they take on the Buffalo Bills. Right now, we're joined by ESPN NFL national reporter Rich Cimini. Let's start with Revis. What's your concern level on Darrelle Revis right now after his performance against A.J. Green and the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly not one of his better games. Arguably one of the worst games of his career. I think some of it's being overblown. If you take I studied the film and talked to some coaches. I don't think it was as bad as some people are making it out to be, but he's obviously not the same player that he was a few years ago. I don't think that's a revelation. I mean, guys get older, but I think they're going to have to figure out a way to use him better as the season goes forward.
Rich, I know I've hit you with this before. I hit everybody who covers the Jets with this. Darrelle Revis, are we at a point this year, maybe a season down the line, where we start considering him as a safety and not a cornerback?
Well, actually, Darrelle brought that up himself in the preseason training camp, mentioned the possibility of moving to safety down the road. It's obviously not going to happen this year. Could it happen a year or two down the road? Yeah, I think that's a definite possibility.
Rich Cimini joins us here, ESPN reporter for the New York Jets on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. And although Darrelle Revis struggled, there were some surprises for the New York Jets in Week 1 and some guys who did play well. For you, who was the most impressive and almost breakout star for the Jets in Week 1?
Well, there were a few guys, actually. They had some positive performances. Matt Forte, a strong debut for the Jets. Leonard Williams, really a breakout kind of game with 2.5 sacks. That was impressive. Steve McClendon, their defensive tackle, was brought in basically to be a run stopper, and he comes in and gets a couple of sacks. That was positive. I thought the right side of their offensive line, which to me was a huge concern going into the game, played well. Brian Winters played well, their right guard. So there were some positives, but there were just too many negatives for them to win that game.
We're going to see the return of Sheldon Richardson this Thursday night. With Richardson now back, do the New York Jets have the best defensive line in the entire NFL?
I think it's too early to say that. You really want to see how things progress, but I think on paper they certainly have the potential to be. Wilkerson, I haven't even mentioned him yet. I mean, he had a sack and a half last week, and now you put Sheldon out there. Between the three of those guys, they're really four. I mean, they're really good. I mean, they could be scary if they're healthy and playing well.
Rich Cimini from ESPN covers the New York Jets. He joins us here on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. Todd Bowles this week addressing the media. You, of course, cover this team. He kept mentioning we're on to next week. We're on to Buffalo. Is that a sign of stress early on in the season, or is he just sort of Bill Belichick light, and that's just how he handles media?
I think it is a sign of stress. If you go back last year when they had a Thursday night game, it was against Buffalo as well. I went back and checked his transcript from the day after press conference leading into that Thursday game, and there was no, we're moving on. It's because they won that week. They beat Jacksonville, and he was in a good mood on Monday, and so he was more than happy to answer Jacksonville questions. And this week, I do think there is some stress, not only from him. I sensed it in the locker room. They're 0-1. They have high expectations, and they're facing their former coach who beat them twice last year. So, yeah, you put it all together, and I definitely think there was some stress in Todd Bowles.
You said you noticed it in the locker room. Was it just within that coaching staff, or could you even notice it with players already after Week 1?
No, players. You just get a sense that there's a little uptightness, and just got that feel. Part of it's because it's a short week. Players are always a little more on edge on a short week. There's less prep time. They're getting 5-6 days worth of prep time. Has to be crammed into 3 days. So it's I definitely sensed it. I mean, you don't want to lose 3 straight times to your old coach and fall 0-2 on the season. That's a pretty big hole.
Yeah, the Jets could be 0-2 if they lose on Thursday night. They would be 0-2. It's Tom Kozlowski here on 104.5 The Team. And one guy who's had a terrible record against Rex Ryan defenses is Ryan Fitzpatrick. 1-8 career-wise against the Rex Ryan coach defense. Is that something Rex Ryan has done with his scheme? Is this Ryan Fitzpatrick having bad luck or coincidental? Where do you see that stat with Ryan Fitzpatrick against Rex?
Yeah, it's definitely not a fluke. I mean, the 9 games is a pretty big body of work, so it's not just a flash, across the screen. I think a couple of reasons. Number one, I think 7 of those games came again, or 6, maybe it was 5 or 6, came when, Rex was with the Jets. The Jets had really good defenses during those years, so he was not playing against second-rate defenses. So that's one reason why. Another reason why is just Rex is a smart defensive coach, and I think Ryan is obviously a really smart quarterback, and I think maybe sometimes he overthinks it or micromanages it to a degree and gets himself in trouble. So I think he just needs to play on instinct and not try to overanalyze.
We'll let you go on this, and you can't answer this question with if they score more points than the other team. The Rex Ryan Buffalo Bills, they lose to the New York Jets. If the New York Jets do this, what gives them the best chance to win tonight?
The Jets have to limit turnovers. When they lost to the Bills twice last year, they lost the turnover battle. So that's number one. I think number two, they're just going to have to, just solve that Rex Ryan defense. We just talked about that with Fitzpatrick. And really number three, and this might even be higher than number three, they have to get Marshall and Decker involved in the offense. Those two guys are their top 2 weapons, and they combined for only 5 catches last week. That was the lowest, combined, receiving numbers they've had over the last 1+ seasons. So they have to get those 2 guys involved.
Rich Cimini, ESPN NFL reporter all across the nation, especially with the New York Jets. Rich, we really appreciate you. We are your home for the Jets. But coming up tonight on our sister station, Q103, Jets Bills. Rich, thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.